Yeah, any business that's just starting out, it's going to be really tough to raise capital. Amazon is going to continue to take a bigger and bigger share. What to do if your product's not selling? That's the challenge. There's only so many things that you can do, and they want to have not only a D2C brand, but they want to have this. It's one thing to get on the shelf. It's a whole different challenge of the game to get people to buy the product, and that's the kind of information that you want to be able to strategically grow. I like to think about LinkedIn as the 24/7 trade show. Don't think about success in days and months. Think about success in like years and decades.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Two Ecomm Experts. I'm Viktor, the founder of Marketamics, actually, and really excited today because we have a person that can teach every one of us. It's the 7 and 80 Figure podcast, and I have Mike Fata, a person who has built a $100 million business, has sold it for over $419 million, and now is building a portfolio of companies and is sharing his journey to help other entrepreneurs like us to scale up. He has multiple 9-figure exits. He's also an author of the book Grow, and he's a great mentor to many people. So is someone that I think, again, can help out so many brand owners to scale up their businesses. And that's why we have him on the podcast. Mike, thank you for joining. And what have I missed from your big biography? What else would you say is a key for the others to know about you?
Well, thanks for having me, Viktor. You covered it there. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, so I've experienced a lot, not only for the length of time that I've been in business, but the scale that we've grown in business. And thankfully, we grew an Omni-channel business, so not only D2C, but how that interacts with brick and mortar, and now my portfolio of companies as well, many of which launched and started in D2C and then now have transitioned to Omni-channel.
Okay, and that's a really cool topic because nowadays people are starting businesses online. They're doing in the D2C, and they're starting to grow. Not just internationally, but they're growing into the local markets too. So, in that regard, if we can just start it here, what's the difference between when you got it started 25 years ago in 1998? What was business like then, and starting a business then? And what's the biggest mindset or market shift from then to now?
I think the biggest one was there was no technology then. When we started Manitoba Harvest '98, the internet was just getting going. And I launched a web store for our business in 1999. But that was you had to code the whole site. There wasn't any kind of tools nowadays that we can get to Shopify or another site up and running pretty quickly. And same thing digitally with your marketing. Didn't have any of that, so more of the facts, more of printed brochures and going out to do trade shows and stuff was the way that we got our message across. And now there's obviously so many tools for entrepreneurs to really build success from their living room.
When did you know that the internet is going to actually be the future of commerce in general? When did you realize this? I want to have the background of you because you have done it all, and I think that you have this experience that but almost nobody has in the e-com industry.
Yeah, I was really excited. And I learned a friend taught me HTML code, and so I built the first Manitoba Harvest website in '99. So we'd only been in business for 6 or 8 months, and one of the reasons that I saw the internet being the future was literally the minute, the first 60 seconds that we put the website live after building it for a couple months. We got an order in, and we sold a bag of hemp seed. So I thought, okay, there's going to be this is something, And then I've learned a lot. Obviously, just you can only do so much locally, whether you're in a town or a city, even a big city. And so you could reach all of your customers nowadays through digital and online marketing and distribution, which is the biggest gift to entrepreneurs just starting out in 2023, 2024, and beyond.
And what are you focused on today? What types of companies are you working with?
Health is a big part of my journey. I lost over 100 pounds when I was a teenager and really got me interested into the health food business. And Manitoba Harvest, even though we were pioneering hemp foods, it was really all about the healthy benefits of the product. So we were in the health food industry. So that's my lane, I guess. And so I'm invested. My portfolio of companies is the majority, far majority of them are healthy food and beverage products.
Perfect. And let's jump back to 2023 and 2024. We're recording the episode at the end of 2023. What are currently the biggest struggles that you're seeing as a mentor and investor for Ecomm startups? What's going on right now on the market?
Yeah, a lot of things that are challenging new e-com startups, and I believe that'll be a trend going forward. Even the advertisement changes and privacy changes from the last now 2 years is having an impact on established D2C and e-com businesses. But for startups, it's just another level that's making it harder to break through. So it's testing how innovative your product or service is as an e-com founder, but also how innovative you are to get your message out there, which it's hard to unless you have a really, really innovative product and business to buy your way through advertising nowadays. You need to have some organic reach, and to do that, you got to be good at content creation.
Okay, so you would say that like content and like the way that you're shaping your message is right now the biggest struggle for most e-com startups.
Yeah, I think not having enough money is probably the biggest challenge. And if you don't have enough money, you say, how do you build the business, right? You have to get turns in the product that you're selling, and to get the message out there for people to get impressions that are going to convert into sales. It's really a volume game. And so if you don't have tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to start out and start with advertising, then maybe you can get good at building a TikTok audience from your living room, or another way, write a blog, or another way that you can, or Facebook groups that you can get your message across and start getting conversions to your site.
And that's quite interesting because 2, 3, 4 years ago, especially during COVID times, investors were so keen into investing in any types of e-com brands. But then they saw that behind those brands, there was really almost nothing. Yeah, there was a customer base, however, and that's why they were giving those crazy evaluations. And nowadays, that's changing. How are investors looking at the e-com market now and into brands in general? What are they looking for?
Yeah, innovation is the short answer, but I think how it's changed is I don't think the investor community, one, the market was, investors had a lot of money, right? Interest rates were cheaper. There was a lot of money produced. So a lot of the funds had dollars and they needed to look for investments. And I think they had a hard time telling what was true innovation. Now what we see a focus from a lot of investors is they want to have not only a D2C brand, but they want to have this opportunity to expand further, and I'd call it that omni-channel approach. So not only can you sell on your own website, but can you sell on Amazon and some of the other resellers, and can you get your products into a brick and mortar store, whether that's a health food store, a specialty store, or one of the conventional grocers or conventional supermarkets. And so that's really changed the game, and we've also seen it affect valuations. If investors are investing in a D2C only company that maybe is, doesn't have a huge amount of innovation or IP on their product specifically, they're valuing those businesses off of a multiple of profit or a multiple of EBITDA, where in the past, and you still see it with a brand that's established an omni-channel success, that they could be valued off of a multiple of their revenue.
Yeah, and that's actually quite amazing because I know it for my own brand. When we scaled to 7 figures, we're not doing too much innovation. We just got into a market that was like really cool in the cosplay industry, and we were only being, let's say, judged and valued based on our profit, and that was actually, and the multiple of this was like very low, exactly because we didn't have this omni-channel approach. into our brand, and the investors are like, well, what's up when the ads costs are going up? Like,
sure. And yeah, and so I think from a valuation, enterprise value, a lot of the goodwill of the enterprise value is in the future, is in the future potential of growing in your business and the sales. And when you're selling to, Walmart as a customer, the future potential of doing more business with Walmart is greater than if you're selling direct to consumer and you start losing consumers or they don't have a lifetime value, and so that's where the big valuation differences are with investors.
you mentioned that money is a really big key into building that good startup and brand in general. In today's world and in today's economy, if I have a startup and yes, and I'm looking for money, I cannot bootstrap it that much. Where am I looking for money and how?
Yeah, any business that's just starting out, it's going to be really tough to raise capital. The best thing you could do and the best sources are friends and family, and then maybe angel investors. So because your friends and family will generally invest in you as a person, even if it's your first business. I know that was my case when we started Manitoba Harvest. My mom was one of our first shareholders, and not a lot of money that we had, but every little dollar counts when you're starting out. And then our friends and family community, and then angels are usually geographically focused. So if you're living in a city, there's usually an angel group there that is supporting, at least getting pitches from startups and supporting businesses that are in their local geography.
Okay, quite interesting. And then let's say that we've scaled to 7 figures or 8 figures even, and I'm starting to see, because like the value of those 7 and 8 figures is now nothing compared to, let's say, 1998 when you got started. $1 million was much more money in 1998 than it is right now. Almost anyone can make a brand that has done $1 million in sales. But when it comes to this, what are your signs that you need an investment? If I'm a brand owner, what are the signs that I am right now in the need of an investor?
Well, it depends on the stage of the investment. You need an investor if you have an opportunity to grow and you don't have the equity dollars to do it. So the more that's why I'm an investor at a venture stage of growth. So usually a business that's 5 million or even 10 million in annual revenue, because I like that growth path from 10 million to 100 million. I've done it myself, and I can help businesses besides the dollars to support their growth in that way. And then by then, that there's a proven product market fit and a proven business model, especially if you're just not doing just D2C, if you're in Omni-channel and selling to some brick and mortar as well. And then, what I look for is scalable sales. So, it's the worst case situation if you are selling into retailers and you have a lot of retailers but only a small velocity of sales, right?
Yeah.
And same can be true with, if you're just on your own website. Like if you have your own website and you have a lot of customers but they buy once from you or twice, that's not scalable sales. Like if you have a smaller amount of customers but their repeat order rate is very high, it's very predictable, or it's more predictable if you get some investment dollars. Spending those investment dollars is going to generate more, not only more customers, but more repeatable customers into your funnel. So I'm always looking for, proven business model that's ready for scale.
Are investors really looking for subscription businesses? Like, is that the case nowadays? Everyone's like,
I think subscription proves that point of repeatable customer. And it's not only subscription on your own website. If you went outside of that, like, if you sell to Amazon, it's one thing to sell $1 million a year of product on Amazon. It's another thing that if you're selling $1 million a year and $500,000 of that is subscribers to your product.
Yeah.
Because then you can, that even if you lose subscribers, you still have a subscriber base, and you have you have returning revenue, recurring revenue, and so I think it really is important. It doesn't work so well for every business model, every business category, but if you are a consumable product, you should be trying to get people on a subscription.
Okay, that's quite interesting. And getting into this, you're working with many D2C owners. What are their range in terms of like annual revenue? What's the typical annual revenue range that you're working with when you're a mentor?
Yeah, 5 million. The range from a mentorship standpoint, because I offer a lot of mentorship tools. I don't, mentoring one-on-one, I only have so much time. But the portfolio companies that started out D2C, they were probably D2C for their first $2, $3, $4 million in sales, $5 million in sales, and then they transitioned over to Omni-channel. So in the portfolio right now, we have a range of companies that are Omni-channel. All of them are Omni-channel now, but they have somewhere between probably 3 or 4 million and 10 million plus in D2C portion of their revenue.
When it comes to this, what are you seeing are the biggest myths or misconceptions that those owners are having for their businesses that are like stopping them from growing?
It's really all about like controlled growth. You need to have the insights that are happening. I just talked about being diversified, not just being just a direct-to-consumer company, but having direct-to-consumer and maybe Amazon and other resellers, and then maybe some brick and mortar is strength to your business, but it does make your business harder to plan, and so you need to be spending focused time on strategic planning, which includes getting insights from the market, because even though you're selling the same product, even every channel, every customer is going to have a different strategy to invest and grow with them, and so you got to get good at that. And if you're playing in 3 or 4 different channels of sales, you need to be knowledgeable about all of them to be successful there.
And that's something that I'm facing right now as a business owner as well. We did our first 7 million in sales completely on our Shopify store, no Amazon, no nothing. And we're currently thinking of how to actually expand to, especially on the retail market. And if we can build a toolkit for starting out from like transitioning from just a normal Shopify store into a more omni-channel store, what are the steps and what are the tools that every brand needs for sure?
Yeah, I mean, first you need to do an assessment of the competition in the market. So, say if you're on your direct-to-consumer store and say you want to get entrance into a grocery or a supermarket chain, you have to understand what other competing products are on the shelf, because that's foundation before you start your planning. From there, it's really about pricing, because there's a different pricing structure. If you're a D2C only, you have a price on your website. You might have a kitted price. You might have a promotional price, but it's all off of the retail price. When you start selling into chains and into brick and mortar stores, there's a discount to your retail price to sell it to the store. And there's a discount to that even if you have a distributor that needs to service that store.
Yeah.
A lot of times you need both. So it really changes your margins. And so you need to do a review on what's the wholesale price to the store and what's the distributor price that you would need to sell at, and what margin now is left for you, and do you have enough margin? Because some D2C brands don't have enough margin depending on the product that they're making to go into retail, and some do. So you need to get the lay of the land first. And the reason that I had the comment on the competition is because after you look at your pricing and margin, you can compare it to others and say, are you offering something different? Because you're going to be tested in retail stores if your product is differentiated, and that could be you're a better quality, you're a better price, or you're actually a very different kind of product. And so those are the two foundational pieces. And then how you're going to go to market, both from a sales and a marketing. Like a lot of, even though you could do your own D2C with yourself or a small team, when you go into retail, you're likely going to need some selling support, like a broker someone to represent you to selling to the stores and help you out with some of the administrative burdens. So that selling side of going into brick and mortar retail, and then the marketing side, whether you're doing it internally or again, there's some agencies that can help out. How are you going to get your product off the shelf in the store? You know, is that going to be samples? Is that going to be product demonstrations, or advertising? You know, what are you going to do to support the retailer? So I think, you know, competitive review, pricing and margin review, and then your sales and marketing resources for setup are the foundational things that every D2C owner would want to know before they try to step into brick and mortar retail.
What are the requirements that those stores will have for your brand? Probably it's going to be different if you're having Walmart compared to, let's say, a small chain of shops. But like, what's the main requirements that they'll want to have?
I mean, they want to have if they approve your product for sale, they're going to want you to deliver timely, top quality product to them consistently. Is number one on the selling side, and then on the marketing side, they're going to want you to support with some dollars. And every retailer is different, but generally, you know, spending a certain percentage of your sale back with that retailer to buy their flyer, their catalog program, or to help to pay for an off shelf to get your product on the end cap, or, you know, off the retail shelf. They all have their different programs, and some smaller retailers, that's probably easier to deal with. So depending on what size you are, I wouldn't think you'd probably, if you're an 8-figure D2C brand, maybe Walmart, you know. But if you're in the 7-figure D2C brand and you want to try retail, more of the smaller chain that's in your hometown or your city is a good place to start.
Okay, interesting. And when do you recommend businesses to go internationally? Because you're probably mostly selling in the States. When is it a good time to go internationally?
You know, it depends when you. I like a concentrated market to get to a certain scale. So I'm a Canadian, and every Canadian company that starts out, you know, all of a sudden wants to go and start selling in the U.S. But even Canadian companies, like, you want to have a good foundation of sales before you start selling into a different country. Like, of the $100 million business that we built, like $40 million of it was in Canada, $50 million in the U.S., and then about $10 million in other countries around the world, in the UK, in Japan, in Korea, Australia. But we couldn't have gone and diversified so quickly to go in and start selling to another country, you know? Or even another continent, because it's not, the further you get away from home, the more challenges you're going to have with potentially customer service or shipping issues, and for sure if it's in retail, you just can't go and have that much coverage of those stores.
So you would just focus more locally, make sure that you're number one locally, and then you slowly start building the international approach.
Yeah, and the approach is execute locally, amplify digitally. You know, so you can do, whether that's local, like local your city you're in, or local your province or state, or local your country. If you get the execution close to home right, you can take that content that you would produce and then amplify that digitally and then sell internationally that way. You know, it's one thing to open up Amazon warehouses in regions around the world than it is to go and try to sell try to sell in Walmart around the world. You know, those are two very different feats, even though it's the same customer.
Good. And when you spoke about having a broker or having someone else that's going to help you out with going to the brick and mortar stores, since let's say you just jumped into the 7 or maybe early 8-figure stage, what are the hires that you need to for sure have in your company in order to guarantee that sustainable growth? So you're just not the CEO that does everything on your own.
Yeah. Sales support is good. You're talking now just D2C or if you're selling also in other retailers.
If you want to start selling in retailers, if you want to do the omni-channel approach.
Yeah. So say if you're not manufacturing the product and you have product partners that make it for you, it's really about the sales and marketing.
Yeah.
So you could do that external, like I mentioned, the broker. You can have a broker that represents your sales, but it's at some point you're going to also want to have an internal sales team member that manages the broker.
Yeah.
I see a lot of founders and CEOs that would for a certain time manage the broker themselves. So you could start out like that. Same thing with marketing, like whether it's social media marketing or a brand manager that's going to help you execute some of these in-store promotions. You're probably going to need one person responsible for marketing as well, and or bring in an agency that's going to do that work. So it's possible that you could still be a solopreneur and sell into those channels for a certain amount of volume by using third-party agencies to start.
When you're looking for a broker, like what are his traits? What should he be doing, and what should you be prepared? Like, what should you prepare for him in order for him to be as successful as possible?
Yeah, brokers are all going to be on the channel of trade. So if you're going into a grocery store or some of the more specific customers like Walmart, the broker that you're selecting, you'd want to understand that they already have a relationship with the retailers that you're targeting. You're also going to want to review what products they also have. And I'd say in our case, if you have a protein bar, the broker, you wouldn't want to go necessarily to a broker that has multiple other competing brands. You may not get your fair share of time. So, which customers are they calling on, and what products are they selling, and how positioned are they as a team to sell your product would be a good way to assess a broker. And then you're going to need to provide that broker with your information on your product, so like sales sheets that give your product information and description and differentiation, as well as pricing, samples of your product as well, and then being part of the strategy with them of like what retailer you're going to first, how are you going to get your awareness of your product after you get on the store shelf, because it's one thing to get on the shelf. It's a whole different challenge of the game to get people to buy the product and pull it off the shelf.
So if we can summarize this, if you're a 7 or 8 figure company that really wants to do the omni-channel, it really wants to go to the offline markets, you for sure need to prepare and make your, first of all, to look into your margins, what you can actually give out for this, whether you can actually afford to do this, because pricing is the key, or you really need to be very different or innovative compared to all of the other products there. You need to see what are the competitors on those markets, because it's probably going to be very different from the e-commerce world. And you need to have some extra help in terms of brokers that for sure need to have some experience, and the portfolio that they're using so far should be different from what you're selling, so you don't have internal competition with your broker.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add to this toolkit? Because I wanted to build a toolkit for people that are starting out with this.
Yeah, you also, like, I think those are the foundational items. Forward thinking, you want to get an understanding of, because at the end of the day, it's all about what's your velocity. If you get on that store shelf, how many products can you sell a week in that store? And it's very different depending on the product category. So having an understanding of that before you start out, because I see too many people fail like that. I use that example again. If you're selling a protein bar, a retailer probably wants to sell 6 to 12 bars in a week, every week at that store to think that product's going to be successful.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're selling a dry pancake mix in the baking section of the store, like pancake mix probably sells at 1 unit a week per store, maybe 2 units a week per store. So very different, right?
Yeah.
If you went into the bar category thinking you're going to sell 1 or 2 bars a week, that's just not going to do, right? Or some people think they're going to go and sell 6 units of pancake mix a week, and it's just it doesn't happen because they weren't even in the range of what other products are selling. So having an understanding of what your potential of product sales and having a target so that when you go in and actually do get a listing on the store with your broker, you know, hey, if we're successful getting into those 100 stores with our 3 products, our 3 products should sell for this category 3 units per week per store. You can total that up and forecast what that looks like in sales for you and sales for the retailer for the year. And that's the kind of information that you want to be able to strategically grow into accounts after you get distribution with them.
What do you think about trade shows nowadays? People are still using them quite a lot. I'm hearing that still D2C companies.
Shows. Yeah, 25 years of trade shows for me. I love trade shows. I think nothing beats the in-person interactions. If you're a larger business, you can get a booth at the show and show off, and it's a way of, I'll call it like fishing. You know, your people are coming by, and you never know who walks by from which buyer from which store. And then you also make a lot of friends in trade shows with other vendors that are selling product. But just a time to be able to see a lot of people all at once. Even if you're a smaller business, you can go and get a badge to access the show, but not just walk around the show. And I think there's benefit even in walking around. You could have a backpack of some of your products or some of your materials, go and meet people, have conversations, maybe run into some buyers and try to show them your product that way, even though you don't have a booth, right? So big believer in trade shows. We used to do so many shows. Now I only do a handful of shows myself, but still foundation. And then you can complement the trade show with LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn, I like to think about LinkedIn as the 24/7 trade show. You know,
okay.
So you can have the relationships with the buyers. You can have the relationship with other entrepreneurs that are in your space, maybe selling a product as well. You know, so like CPG entrepreneurs, and then see people face to face at trade shows, but follow up and have daily or regular communication with them on LinkedIn.
Quite interesting. And in that regard, just getting back a little bit to selling offline, because you can be kind of predictable with Facebook ads, for example, or Google ads. You kind of know what to expect based on your budgets. Now you told us a little strategy on how to understand what's your forecasting for your offline sales, but how do you guarantee that your products are going to be even visible on the store and that they're actually going to sell? And the second question, if they're not selling, what you're doing then?
Yeah, well, it's one thing to get on the store shelf. So when you go in and if you get approval from a retailer, generally chains, the retailer themselves, you got into say a store that has 50 stores. They will execute to put your product on the shelf in the category that they feel it's best merchandised in. So you don't necessarily have to worry too much about that, but you do have to worry about how are you creating awareness for people to go in and buy your product. The good thing about D2C brands is maybe they've already been advertising, they're already doing social media. The marketing that you're doing online as a D2C brand has the potential to drive people into store, because not everybody likes to buy direct to consumer. That's why they go to a consolidator like Amazon, or that's why they just go and shop at their local Whole Foods or their local Walmart to be able to buy that product. But they may have saw you online first or saw your Facebook advertisement. They just didn't convert direct to on your direct website. So some of those same marketing tools, especially for larger D2C brands, are going to benefit brick and mortar retailer. But what to do if your product's not selling? That's the challenge. There's only so many things that you can do in store. If you're a food and beverage product, the best thing you could do is doing product demonstrations, because getting product into people's mouths, sampling to them is the best way to convert them, especially if you have a great tasting product and it has some other kind of benefits to it. But those are very expensive to do those in store, and so you want to stay close to home. I go back to that. Execute locally and then amplify digitally. Even if you're an online D2C brand, and I don't care if you're in California or you're in Canada or you're in Europe, if you're a D2C brand that has like national or international distribution and you choose to go into brick and mortar, you're still going to want to start really close to home in your city with the key retailers that are in that city, because then you can go into the store as a founder or as your team and maybe do some product demonstrations, do some founder demonstrations yourself, like impact the sales in those stores. Where if you go too wide and you're in California and you go get distribution in New York City, there's nothing you can really do. You're always going to have to pay a third party to go and do these demonstrations or to help the sales out, and it gets really, really challenging.
I was just going to ask, isn't that the broker's job to do at some point?
I think the broker's job is to get the product on the shelf. Some brokers also have some programs, like they'll do some product demonstrations. Some of the retailers actually have it as well. It just gets really expensive to do it, unless you have a very, very large budget already. It gets overly costly. But if you're starting out and I say, your first 10 retailers should be within 10 miles or 10 kilometers from your office, right? So that you can go and visit those stores and see how the products are doing and meet with the people that are working in the store and make friends with them, so you understand, how your products are doing against the competition, and are they recommending you to expand into more locations, and so it's always good to nail it locally first.
Quite interesting. Well, as a person that's located in Europe, for me it's probably going to be really hard to get into the US market in terms of going locally. But that's also giving me food for thought for how I can actually expand to Europe for my own businesses. Because digitally we're just doing it all the time. Because we can be wherever we want to be in the world when it comes to our brands. Cool. And based on this, you're working with so many entrepreneurs nowadays. Where are you seeing the e-com industry moving forward in the next 5 to 10 years? What are going to be the biggest changes that are going to for sure happen? What's your forecasting when it comes to this?
Yeah, I think more and more businesses are going to be consolidated. You see it happening you see consolidators in private equity trying to roll up like Amazon or D2C brands. I think more of that's going to happen. I think you're going to see more of those businesses challenged unless they have large scale, because it's from a consumer standpoint, and consumers are going to go for, Amazon is going to continue to take a bigger and bigger share, whether it's selling a brand itself or offering a private label option to that brand. Mm-hmm. We're going to see more of that as we go forward. So it's going to be harder and harder for smaller D2C brands, and that's the caution, the work to do right now to get out. If you're a small D2C brand and you're trying to become more valuable, maybe there is that opportunity for you to transition into an omni-channel brand. Maybe it is that you open up Amazon and have a couple different channels that you're working. But I think it's going to become more challenging for the smaller D2C brands in the next 5 to 10 years.
Nice. So if you're not innovative, then you're probably facing issues when you were a smaller brand.
Yeah, innovate or die, right?
Innovate or die.
Yeah.
And like that's the jungle. Like we're living one way or another. Like that's the laws of the jungle, so we need to comply with them. Quite interesting. Okay. I'm always asking a few more, a little bit personal questions in regards to, from what I can, on those podcasts. Moving to this, what are your favorite books to recommend to people that are in the D2C space that are now expanding?
I'd say one of my favorite books is Good to Great by Jim Collins. I think you need to stand out in business, and people take different approaches to that. So this maybe not for everybody. It's definitely my approach. I think being the top quality in that continuous improvement mindset and being the best of the best in your space is a good way to set yourself up for long-term success. Some other people may be offering the most value product or like the cheapest product, so maybe that doesn't fit in. But by far and away, I like Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Very nice. And in terms of finding a mentor, what's the best way, in your opinion, to get the right mentor for your business or mentors for your business?
Yeah, I got a couple of thoughts there. One, it's hard to go and ask someone to be your mentor. Okay, so the best way you can do is if you're looking for a formal mentor, and say there's different kinds of mentors, and I'll unpack that a little bit after. But a traditional mentor, that old guy or gal that's been in your industry and built a business like you have. It's hard it's hard to get a person like that. The best way is to network and build community. And that's where you got to kind of take it offline, right? Because usually those are meetings in person. And so if there's a association or a group, an entrepreneurs group, or an industry-based group in your city that you can go and actually participate in and become a member of and network at, that's more likely where you're going to find other people that are playing the same game as you are, but have already proven their success, and then you can network with them from there. But I'm a big believer in not only traditional mentorship like that, but peer-to-peer mentorship and also mass mentorship. So for peer-to-peer mentorship, other founders, other entrepreneurs that are doing similar businesses to yours, maybe obviously not competitive businesses, but similar businesses. Peer-to-peer mentors are a great way to learn because they're going through the same challenges and struggles that you're going through right now. And so to be able to connect with them and talk back and forth, I found a lot of success when I was growing up as an entrepreneur in more peer-to-peer mentorship. And then mass mentorship, which I'm personally trying to do more of because I only have so much time on kind of one-to-one mentorship. But mass mentorship is more one-to-many, right? Where you can listen to podcasts like this and get insights and get mentorship through kind of words and audio and video. And so look for people that have built similar success than that you're looking to build, and then read or listen to or watch their content is a good way. And a lot of people don't think about that as being mentorship. But if you're really focused on what you want to learn and the type of person you want to learn from, you can go and seek that out nowadays. And so a good combination of that. If you could find a traditional mentor, that's great. Go look for them playing the same game as you are. Peer-to-peer mentors, it's really about networking with other founders and entrepreneurs, and then scope out what kind of mass mentorship content that you're looking for, and build your calendar and build your content around that.
Amazing, and honestly, I can very much relate it, especially to the part with podcasts. Because I'm from Bulgaria, it's a very small country in Eastern Europe, and we don't really have that many entrepreneurs here. We don't really have that many e-com brands here. And starting out as a very young entrepreneur, what really helped me out was listening to podcasts, listening to other success stories from the United States, from Canada, from all of Western Europe, and so on and so on. And that really helped me out. So I can absolutely say that 10 out of 10, that's an indirect way that I had so many mentors because of that.
Yeah, everybody can do that. Again, you just got to think about that. I dropped out of school when I was 14, so I dropped out of high school to start working. And early on, I realized that you can go to school and learn from some great professors there. Yeah. Okay, I have nothing wrong with school. You can go that route, but there's lots of people that can teach you things all over the world and all throughout life and business. Yep. If you understand, if you think about what you're trying to learn, and then you go seek them out. So maybe just changing some of your listeners' thoughts on how they think about mentorship.
Yeah, you don't really need to always pay $5,000 to get an advice. You can find it from a free podcast somewhere. It's just you need to be open to it. You need to listen to it. That's the biggest thought difference.
Yeah, you got to go seek out the people that you want to learn from, and then put some focused effort there.
If you were starting out today, completely maybe out of college, maybe you were dropping out of college, and you're starting your own business. What's your thought process, knowing what you know today?
Yeah, number one thing is do something that you're passionate about, that you're excited about, that seems fun to you, something that you would do whether you're getting paid or not. something that you would do, but brings value to others. So you actually will get paid from it. But I find that that entrepreneurs that go to try to, or people that want to say they want to get into entrepreneurship and start a business, and they're doing it solely to make money.
Yep.
A lot of times they're going to be better off with getting a job, because entrepreneurship's really not about making money. As an entrepreneur is a byproduct of doing something very well for a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
And so to do something really well, I found you have to be really interested or excited or passionate about that thing. Then you will learn all about it. Learn how to be the best at it. Learn how the supply works. Learn how to explain it to other people. Like, just be the best at that at your business. And if you're enjoying what you're doing, you're going to be able to do it for a long time. So we talk about this. Like, don't think about success in days and months. Think about success in like years and decades.
Yeah.
And because that's what it really takes. And so, find something that you enjoy doing. And I don't care if that's, you love sports and you love soccer and you want to get into some form of soccer as an entrepreneur. You could be in soccer games. You could be making soccer jerseys, something to do with the sport, or maybe it's B2B and you have a service business, a tech business, whatever it is that really excites you. That's what you should be pursuing, and learn from other people that have built similar success, and that's the best foundation to start out.
Perfect. I think that we had so many advices and so many things that people can just take from this episode. Last thing that I wanted to really ask you is, what are your sources of information that you're always following? Who are the people that you're following in order to be up to date with what's going on in the world, in the business world, let's say?
Yeah. It changes, but I love LinkedIn for that. I think it's following other founders that are in the natural and organic products industry is very useful for me. I'm not a big person on the news, but I like seeing it in a little bit of a different lens. So Morning Brew is a newsletter based out of the U.S., but has some good writing and content to it. And then, I really connect with, from a mass mentorship, others in my space that are doing similar. So like Jesse Etzler and Jay Shetty and Lewis Howes, like people that are really motivational and inspirational. They're authors, they're speakers, they're business people, but they come at building community and really building positivity in life.
And my last question is, who are the young D2C founders that need to be on this podcast, that need to share their story? People that have been quite successful and they deserve to be here and share their story.
Well, he's dynamic. He's super dynamic. I would hit up Jake Carls from Midday Squares, based in Montreal, Canada. Midday Squares started as a D2C business and grew a successful D2C brand, and then transitioned over into Omni-channel and has distribution throughout Canada and the US, and just growing really rapidly. But I think there's a lot of learnings from their success because of how they storytell. Great product, it's a phenomenal product, but how they storytell and build community, and how that goes back into their D2C funnel and supports even their omni-channel business. I'm sure that Jake would be an awesome guest for your listeners.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this episode. I think it was, it was super valuable for almost everyone. For me personally, it was super valuable as a person that's like exactly on this cross path. How to scale the business? Is it only going to be traditional, or for me traditional D2C? That's through my Shopify store, or I'm going to Amazon, or I'm going internationally more, or I'm going locally with brick and mortar stores. And I had the answers to many of my questions in that regard. So thank you, Mike. And for all of you that just listened or watched this episode, definitely make sure that you follow Mike on his social media accounts. He's sharing so many valuable lessons from his experience, from his D2C brands, from his omni-channel brands. Get the book, grow, and stay tuned for the next episodes of Two Ecomm Experts. Thank you.